Welcome, YouTube. We are here to discuss the DC fandom here with my GRG brother, Six Slayer, and we are happy to get this going. How you doing there, Sick?
Doing good, doing good. How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, bro. I am so excited and happy about our event that happened this weekend. Oh my God, there's so much stuff that happened, and I can't wait to get into this.
Same here, bro.
So let's just start out with what is the first things that stood out to you for as the movies? Let's just go from that point.
Well, being a big Batman fan, it definitely has to be Batman, um, and everything that's closely related to Batman always has my eye first and foremost. But definitely the Batman. I mean, quite succinctly does that for me.
So what do you think about the trailer, the Batman trailer? How you take that one?
Uh, you know, people had said it was Robin Pattinson. I'd heard this earlier that he was going to be Batman, and uh, he I just didn't think too much about it other than the mental acknowledgement of him, and then realizing, hey, that's the guy from those Twilight movies. That's not a good look already in my mind, even though I really don't know too much about Twilight, although I was forced to see the second film. Yeah, forced to. So but just much like Heath Ledger as the Joker, so too is this guy to Batman. You know, he's doing a bang up job in a role that most would have not thought he could handle, and he's doing a great job.
So I would say I'm gonna say that I am still not sold as of yet. I thought the trailer was good, a decent. I'm still not sold by the movie yet. But I do, and I am aware that it's based off the comic, loosely based off the comic, The Longest Halloween, which is one of my favorite Batman storylines. So hopefully it does justice.
I
Um,
also get a vibe of now that you're mentioning comics, I'm also getting a vibe of, because there was a recent documentary, maybe on GameSpot or IGN. I want to say it was IGN, where they were talking about the original plans for Batman Year One with Frank Miller and how that film was supposed to come about. And I'm getting a lot of vibes of that original idea in this film.
yeah, the director did talk about how he wanted to dive into Batman's emotional state and what drives him. And the thing is, I'm okay with that as long as he doesn't do another. Let's see Bruce's family, parents get shot again. I mean, we already know that happened. We don't really need to see the origin all over again. We
Agreed, agreed. But
let's
I
just
think
push
they'll
forward.
flashback to it, reference it real quick, real quick, and then move on. Like, you just have to accept that, so everybody understands, on the page, that okay, his death, blah blah blah. You see it like 15 seconds at most, and then just move on.
Right, right. I get what you're saying, and just to keep it moving, we shouldn't spend a lot of time in the movie trying to go through that all over again. It's kind of like
Right.
watching Spider-Man's origin every time a new movie comes out, right? It's just
Hmm.
not necessary.
Yeah.
Um, so, what about the Flash movie?
Okay. The Flash movie. See, as later on, we're going to talk about the Snyder cut and how that relates to things. And it was always my opinion, the scene where Bruce Wayne is having that whole weird dream, and then when he
Are you
wakes
talking
up,
about the scene in the original Justice League movie? Is that
right,
what
the
you're
original
referring to?
Justice League
Okay,
movie,
okay.
where, and so the flashback, the Flashpoint paradox instantly comes to mind, and it seemed like that's a bit of what they were going for, and but because they cut that out, although that may be in some degree in the Snyder cut, who knows? I feel like Ezra Miller was his character, his portrayal of the Flash was very important to that whole thing, and maybe will be expanded upon within this film. Now that they have the time for that.
Gotcha. And yeah, it is called. I think it's going to be the Flashpoint movie, but the thing is, I don't think it's going to be like the exact storyline of the original Flashpoint comic. I really think it's going to be slightly different because breaking news last week. It was confirmed that Ben Affleck's Batman will be in that movie, not as Thomas Wayne. So they're going to change the story slightly to fit their narrative, and I'm okay with that. As long as it's all tied together, I'm definitely
Me
okay with
too,
that.
because a lot of people don't like his portrayal as Batman. Not how much because of him, but because of the way the DC universe ended up, and so a lot of folks would just like to disassociate themselves with all aspects of those films that didn't do well, including his portrayal as Batman. And I really don't think that's a fair or good outlook. And it's good to see that this Flash character didn't have to get reset, and even can reference Batman. His portrayal is wow, his name's portrayal of Batman. Once again, I don't think they really need to remove themselves from all aspects of the Justice League movie and Batman versus Superman to be able to move forward. And it's
Gotcha.
good to see they're not doing that.
Did you take a look at his new suit? They redesigned his new suit, and I thought that was pretty cool. How it looks like the lightning is pulsating off of his suit, like in this, and I would say it looks like they drawn lightning, or it looks like lightning's pulsating from his suit. It's hard to explain without taking a look at it, but it looks really crazy, like he's lighting up.
It does look pretty cool, but also because they're doing elements of the Flashpoint paradox or elements of that, you're gonna see potentially different versions of Barry Allen. You know, as the time.
True,
So
that's
who
true.
knows? That could be a different version of himself at a certain point. And then later on, you see him with more of the costume that he had within Justice League. But who knows? Who knows? With comics, it can go any way they feel like.
So, how do you feel about the star that's playing the Flash, or this version of the Flash?
Ezra Miller, I always liked him. A lot of people would say he was a little neurotic, but for a dude who's, his metabolism is so high, everything about him is high speed. That's the kind of character you expect. And Ezra Miller did a great job. Just that look in his eyes when he realized, oh yeah, I'm going a little too far. I'm being weird in front of people. Let me. And he had that. It would have those moments of realization, and he would express that very well with his eyes. So I think Ezra Miller was always a was always a great actor. That's another thing I'm saying about how I'm happy that they're not wiping the slate clean to move forward. And this is definitely one element that I'm happy they're keeping. Ezra Miller's portrayal of the Flash.
I also like how they connected him to the Flash TV show, so it validates that these characters actually exist, just on a different multiverse universe, right?
Right.
Um, so I wanted to move on a little bit and touch on the other movies. And Wonder Woman is that's one of the newer movies that's going to come out soon, right? Wonder
Yeah.
Woman,
Yeah.
1984.
1984. I don't know originally what the release date was or was planned for, but I figure it must have been sometime this year because this movie probably should have already been out already. So
Mm,
that's just my vibe of it from when they kept showing it. In fact, it didn't get pushed back for extra rework, even though it was essentially complete at that point. Even I, I should have come prepared and researched about this, but I really get the feeling like this movie is ready to go, and they've been hanging on to it for a while.
right, and the thing is, I when I watched the trailer, I was shocked that they went ahead and brought Cheetah into the mix, and it looks like um, it's going to be another evolution of Wonder Woman. And when they did the panel and talked about it, they even had the Wonder Woman from the TV series. What was her name again?
Oh, you mean from the old series from the 70s?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
she was on the panel
Linda Carter.
too. Linda Carter. Yes,
Mm-mm-mm.
yes. So she was on the panel, and they were talking about the evolution of Wonder Woman. So uh, beyond the trailer, they said that there are more surprises coming. And I'm thinking this is going to be an evolution into whatever the Snyder Cut would be, judging by how they constructed that. Um, the wording, they didn't go into. Obviously, there's a lot of hush hush stuff, but I think it's all connected in some way. which is awesome. So they're kind of starting to build out their universe, and I think that's worth mentioning there. Um, what about Aquaman? See, I did not see much on Aquaman outside of uh, they're bringing back the original cast for the next Aquaman film. Did you see that?
Okay, Aquaman. The first film did pretty well. Aquaman has a bad, I don't want to say habit, reputation amongst fans for his portrayal in in film is not existent. Even in cartoons, I mean, his last good portrayal was probably Justice League of America. You know, um, the old '70s cartoon series. In games, always bad, if at all. So there was a low, expectation. There was low expectations for his film, but just like Wonder Woman, slightly to a lesser extent, let's say, shot it out the park. Great film. The second film, I think they're just going with what worked and continuing on. There was little to criticize for the last film, so I think they're just moving on. I think they're
So
just moving on.
so and I like the Aquaman. I'm not a fan of Aquaman, but
Hmm.
I did like the movie. I
Agreed.
thought the movie was solid, and the characters did win me over. So I like
Oh,
to see
and
the
and
sequel.
what's his name's portrayal as Aquaman? I forget his name. Oh, jeez, the Samoan guy. A lot of people probably confuse him with Roman Reigns and the like. He's not, but yeah, he's married to what's her name? Who used to be on the Cosby Show? Who played Denise? Um, you follow me? So
Yes.
it's that guy. So it's that guy. And his portrayal of Aquaman was just so great. I felt he brought a lot of personality to the
Jason
character.
Mo-
Yeah,
Jason
Jason
Momoa.
Momoa. Yes, Jason Momoa. There you go. And he brought personality to a character. So even in Justice League, I keep referencing this film because a lot of the characters in films um, that we're talking about all had appearances in Justice League, and so or their first appearance character wise, you know, was in that film. So that's going to continue to get referenced here. But his character from that film, you could see the inkling of it, and then you see it in his own film Aquaman. So I feel that's a key element of the franchise going forward. Jason Momoa as Aquaman, he's doing a great job. Now Amber Heard, she's involved with a lot of legal drama. We're not going to get into all those things, so I'm not expecting her to be in the sequel. Frankly, I hope she's not. Um,
We
but
got K Mega in the chat saying Lisa Bonet.
Lisa Bonet, thank you, brother. Thank you, Lisa Bonet. Yes, that's his wife. In fact, her daughter plays Catwoman in the new Batman film. Zoe Kravitz, her daughter, his stepdaughter plays Catwoman. So it's all connected there between the two of them there.
Okay, yeah. So that's a huge family thing, and we'll see how that turns out. Like I said, the movie is based off of the Batman movie is loosely based off the longest Halloween. So it's definitely year one Batman. So what I really wanted to talk about is the um, Snyder cut. I mean, not the Snyder cut. The Justice the society. I messed it up. The Suicide Squad 2. Suicide Squad 2.
Mm. Now
That's what I
here's an
really want to talk.
actual reboot. Now here's an actual reboot, but even then, it could be a soft reboot because Margot Robbie is returning to the role of Harley Quinn. So this could be a soft reboot or just a sequel in general that just doesn't really reference too much of the first movie, where it's in its own, let's say, continuity and doesn't and whatever happened in the first one really doesn't matter too much. It seems they're going that route, and that one I'm fine with compared to you know you know everything that extends off the Justice League and Batman versus Superman. This is something I'm fine with because they didn't have those close attachments
So
to begin with.
I want to go out on a limb and say I was not I will say the original Suicide Squad movie I wasn't a big fan of. I would say it's okay, but to me it wasn't that great.
I didn't really have a problem with it. I enjoyed my time watching it. I didn't come out or even go in looking to, that it's going to be this perfect film or anything like that. So my expectations were low, but a lot of people had valid complaints about it. You know, in comparison, I keep bringing up the Justice League once again. I do counter with most people on that, but for this film, I could take it or leave it. People bring up some good points. You know, to say about it negatively, and I really can't knock those opinions.
So the most important thing is this one is directed and written by James Gunn.
Ooh,
And everyone should
yes,
know that this guy's work is from Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. And that the quality of those movies were excellent. The only difference between that movie and those movies and this one that he has created and the um, Suicide Squad is he first of all he's a comic book fan through and through. He
yes,
loves
indeed.
comics in general. So that already when a director is behind a movie that he already is a fan of what he's doing, you can see the quality. Number 2, they did not give him any restrictions and gave him full creative control. Unlike the Marvel movies where he had certain restrictions where he couldn't go past, this one he could do whatever he want. So he showed Jim Lee the roster that he wanted in his movie, and everybody just fell on the floor because he went to the underground to find these characters that I didn't even know it existed to put in this movie. And there's 24 characters, 24, a huge roster of people he's putting into this movie. I thought that was crazy. And you see Idris Elba as Bloodsport, and then you got John Cena as Peacemaker, and they looking silly but serious at the same time. Outside of the Harley Quinn, but I wanted to put it out there. James Gunn knows what he's doing to catch people's attention, and
This sounds like a fun comic book movie. Something you just enjoy
yes,
and not put too much brains into it.
yes, and that's what comic books movies supposed to be doing. Is they one they supposed to compel you, two they supposed to entertain you, and this man knows how to do both, right? And to me that will be the most anticipated hero movie of 2021 is definitely the Suicide Squad movie. I don't know if you should call it two or a reboot or not. I guess we'll find out, but they definitely took me by surprise, and I'm excited for it. I typically are not excited for this kind of movie, but after seeing the roster and what he was doing with it, yes, I'm on board.
Yeah, same here. This is just just very different style, but also very familiar. When you look at that trailer that came out for the first Suicide Squad movie, it gave folks a lot of expectation and a lot of um I want to say confidence, I guess you could say, in what they thought the movie would be like based on that trailer. And now I feel more like this is what we will have in the second film. That's going to be more what those expectations are, off of that trailer, because he's actually bringing around these characters and getting actors who look silly and serious at the same time. And I just can't wait to see this.
I mean, Polka Dot Man, come on, man, Polka
Yeah,
Dot Man.
he went in the crates looking for these old ones, man. And he found them, and that's what I'm talking about. You don't have to you don't have to do a lot of thinking about it. You just enjoy it. Just leave your brain at home, get you some popcorn and a drink, and you're good. Have a
Exactly.
good time.
So let's talk about the Snyder cut since we mentioned it. We keep on touching on it. I think we should talk about it. What do you think about the trailer? What did it say to you?
It it gave me hope, yo, because when I look at the whole situation with that film or the original version of the film, we know there was more to it. The fans knew there was more to it, and AKA dubbed the Snyder Cut. It didn't really exist per se, but there was some content they did film and other things that were supposed to be a part of what he had more intended to. But it's this typical same story with studio intervention, and then unfortunate things happen to him as well as a father. you never want something like that to happen. Someone as a father, but there it goes. And it really a lot of things that the problems that people had with the film, I feel, were because of that. Extended off of that the film was never what it was originally meant or had planned to be. And this trailer gives me hope that it could be closer to that original vision again.
So what about the trailer gave you hope? What about it?
Because there were certain scenes that I've seen that seem to flesh out things like why a person would feel some kind of way in X moment and Y moment because other things happened. And I'm already seeing clips in the trailer that definitely weren't in the previous film, that definitely weren't in the original film, that seem to show off those, connecting tissue that wasn't there before. And to help expand upon and expound upon, details and things that people really had criticisms with plot wise with the film.
So to me, just seeing Dark Side,
Yes.
it started everything.
Yes.
Then
That's the biggest example of that right there.
then a redone version of Steppenwolf that
Yes.
looks fire.
Menacing.
Oh my gosh. I was like, this is the way he should have looked in the beginning.
Mm.
Is he's supposed to be terrifying. And then, this redone version definitely makes you feel like unsafe.
Yeah,
Like,
the continuing theme here is like they're doing what we asked for. All the criticisms that were given, the objective, ones that were given out there, they seem to be addressing all of those criticisms piece by
so
piece.
so do you think the Flashpoint movie is going to connect into this?
Yes, yes. I think this is just more of that original continuity that they had planned for. When DC says their movies are not connecting anymore, I think that these two films are projects that were a part of the original plan that they just never canceled. So they will continue on with that whole connecting tissue, but at the same time, they're going to make sure those films can stand alone, which they all do. But you could see the connections there, and you could put and you could have this whole, what's the term there when you have a narrative or a timeline in your own mind? I forget what they call that. Um, it's like when you have the whole, you know, like continuity in your mind of how certain things fit for you, and it seems like that's exactly what's happening. They're putting all those elements together, all the things that people criticize about the film, like why didn't you do this, why didn't you do that, and they're actually doing those things.
So I'm hoping that after all this time, it definitely pleases the fans because everyone wants to have the Snyder cut. It's all everyone talks about, and that was a huge blow away. Now, there was a segment that kind of tickled me, and that's when uh, The Rock showed up to promote a movie called Black Adam, and they did a uh, was it a teaser of the movie,
Yeah.
and and it's pretty funny to me. But what do you think about this segment here? Did you watch that segment? Did you catch that or?
No, not really. I only caught some like a bit of the question and answer period when they were talking with The Rock himself and about the film. Not too much. I didn't actually catch that whole teaser trailer, but as I understand it, it's really just a teaser trailer. Is really not much to see other than the fact that this movie is in production now.
So so check this out. So what I see, what was tickling me was, first of all, he's being presented as the original version. I know a lot of people don't know this, but Black Adam is not a typical bad guy. He is an anti-hero, right? He is a guy who will fight for justice but without restraint. So he will kill to protect his people. And I believe that this movie will show his origin on how he got Shazam's powers, and but used it in a way where he would hurt other people who would hurt his people, eye for eye. That's his belief, which is not necessarily bad, but at the same time it's not good. But that's the interesting part about his character. And they did show that as a teaser. It's still being made, obviously. But what's cool is at the end of the segment, The Rock came and said, "Hey, I want you fans to do me a favor. I want you to tell I want you to tell Wonder Woman, Flash, Shazam, Batman, and Superman that the power arc hierarchy has shifted, and he's calling out the Justice League." And I thought that was pretty funny and badass at the same time, that he wants to go ahead and fight the Justice League.
Maybe more continue. Maybe it will happen. Maybe it will happen either in his film or some sequel. Who knows? I mean, DC said, well, was it Warner Brothers who said these films would not connect anymore? Maybe they will if they see. I think this is a continuing theme that they've learned their lessons about what they did wrong before, and they're moving forward. So even though they've said these movies won't connect, I think they will, but won't be mandatory to understand the whole picture. I don't think they're really putting it where it's forced in, but there'll be elements that cross over here and there. And if you catch them, you catch them. If you don't, well, it doesn't matter. You know.
So I think also, and I want to mention that this whole show was structured pretty well. They did a thing with CNN, showed the heroes of this pandemic. I won't say the word, but the pandemic, the people who around the country are helping folks during this time, and call them heroes of the pandemic. And then also they had different segments such as, um, what's that acronym you have there? Sick, BAWSE, females of color within DC. They had a segment where
Hmm. I'm
they
sorry, I
had
was muted.
they brought together all the women of color who plays in different roles in the DC universe, versus no matter if it's TV, movies, or even voice acting, which was amazing. It was great to see. Um, I forget the lady's name who's the Muslim, the first Muslim uh, on the DC universe. She plays on the Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. I know the one you mean.
I'm trying to remember her name. Uh, Zaria Tormaz, that's her name.
Yes, yeah.
And what I liked about this segment was not only did they talk about, their experience and what it means to them being a woman, um, of color in these parts in these shows and whatnot, but they also talked about if they had the superpowers, what would they do with them? And Zari, interestingly, funny as she is, she says, "Well, I'm on a time travel show. So I would go back and change a lot of dates, starting with November 2016." I thought that just tickled me so much. She said,
Oh,
"There's a lot of dates I would change." I'm not gonna get into it, but it was funny to me, listening to what they would do with their powers. But what do you think about that segment there, Sick?
this is something, like DC. We'll talk later about this when we talk about comics, but this is something DC has had a good bit to do with the black community in terms of comics for a while now. So this to me didn't come out like pandering or, or anything like that. It's like some may feel this was something that was genuine, and you could see it in what they did. So this is why I made sure we had this on the list on the docket to talk about.
Yeah, and I think it was very important that they all expressed their point of view on
Hmm.
why it's important for them and their roles, especially some of like the even the new black Batwoman. She faced a lot of scrutiny as well. I mean, the show, let's just be real, the show wasn't written well, which has nothing to do with the character itself, but more or less just bad writing. Now, the only way this show is going to survive has nothing to do with her taking over the mantle because she's a new created character. She has nothing to do with the comics. But if the show is written well, it will do well, and that's just that simple. At the end of the
Yep.
day,
That's how it
and
always works, and how it should work, frankly.
yes, so it definitely has nothing to do with her being a woman of color. Is more or less hoping that the writers don't push agendas, but push and show her set her up for success by allowing her to show her acting ability, right? And not try to use other things as some sort of agenda. I don't know. Trying to not say certain words, you know what I mean? Just trying to talk around it, but you get what I'm saying. So,
No doubt about it.
so what I really want to get into is the game reveals, and like in the background right now is Gotham Knights, and maybe we should start with that. So, did you see? What do you think about? Did you see the gameplay of Gotham Knight? I seen the gameplay along with the trailer, but did you get to see
I
it?
saw a trailer that had gameplay in it, and it had a lot of cutscenes and stuff, but there was some gameplay in it. Um, whoo, so the, they didn't confirm this, or well, frankly, I didn't do any more research other than watching the trailer. But the trailer was very descriptive, so it starts to make me suspect that first and foremost, there might be co-op in this game. If ever
Yes,
a game was that should have co-op, where it looks like it would, with the four characters to pick from, and this is not in the DC Arkham series, but pretty clearly will be in Gotham City, and have the whole city, especially because we're the villains are the Court of Owls, and they're based in Gotham City. It's all about Gotham City, so you know, there's a lot of that could be inferred that would be co-op. Is it co-op, or does it just seem
I
that way?
don't. You know what? I don't remember if they said it was because I was so excited of seeing it that I forgot to. I guess I jumped past it. I can look that up, but you can go ahead and continue.
Um, so I'm hoping it's that. If not, that would be disappointing
Yes, it
because
says it does reveal that it is co-op. Hmm.
excellent, because I could just see that. I just saw they kept switching to the four characters and showed how they fight differently, and so that was the first thing that came to mind. It just had to have been a co-op game. So wow, that just increases the the appeal for the game. Because if the game was just a game, even though it's not the Arkham uh, continuity that they've had with the games from beginning from last generation, you could see it's very much like those Batman games, but with other characters in the Bat family. So even if it wasn't co-op, that would have been great. But the fact that it is just makes it, and the reason why co-op is so important, because that expands upon the gameplay elements and concepts that they can have in game. Maybe certain things you can't do alone. You have to play with someone else. And with the CPU power of these game consoles, even if you're not playing with someone else, the CPU should be able to handle the AI of these other characters, very well. Like there's at least the CPU muscle there to make that happen now on these consoles. So there's a lot of potential for this game. A lot of potential.
So what got me is when they got up and talked about the narrative, right? This game takes place not in the same universe as the Arkham universe. This takes place somewhere else. And since it's a different continuity, they telling a different story. And the story starts off with Batman's video basically saying he's dead. So you're already setting the pretense that Batman is dead and the Bat family has to step up and defend Gotham. What I like about this is they've taken away this safety net of Batman. Like there's no Batman. So there you have nobody to rely on but you all, each other to keep the legacy going. And I'm interested in seeing how that goes. Now I'm gonna be honest, I don't believe that Batman's actually dead. They didn't show a body or anything. They just showed a video. but it's part of the story. So I'm assuming that we'll see down the line as we play the game what really happened, right?
Yeah, as you said, I'm starting to think that maybe one day in the future, or maybe well, back in the day that would be unlockable, but I'm pretty sure this would be DLC. In that Batman, after you beat the game, long after the game is on and it's been spoiled, that Batman is alive, and maybe you see him at the end of the game, that maybe his character becomes playable. But knowing the game industry nowadays, that would probably be a DLC. But hey, take it or leave it. And I guess I'd take that because I'd like to see that too. But I want this game to be able to stand alone with these four. And the specter of Batman, is he alive, is he dead, is going to push the narrative forward. And
Right, right.
and you also see, because the four that they picked are very telling, because you got Nightwing, that's obvious. You got
It's Tim.
Batgirl,
It's Tim Drake's Robin, by the
it's
way.
Tim Drake's Robin, right? So and then of course you got the Red Hood, which is formerly the former Robin before Tim Drake, geez, I forget his name.
Jason Todd.
Jason Todd. So the fact that he is even with the other three, all three of them are non-lethal, and you see he's got guns. He doesn't care about killing. If you've seen, which one of those DC animated films was dealt with that? I think it was Batman: The Red Hood. Okay,
Yes.
so he has issues with Batman, but doesn't mean he doesn't care about him at all. So if the plot being that they believe Batman is dead, now they need to go and find the killers and protect the city from the Court of Owls. So he would team up with them. There's good, but there's going to be some conflicts there, and so maybe as you're playing, you have to come into conflict against him, or if you're playing as him, you play that conflict from his point of view. There's a lot of narrative, juiciness to be had here. I mean, it writes itself. Let's just hope they write it properly. I'm really starting to anticipate this plot wise as well.
I think it'd be fine. The thing is, they didn't want to give up way too much, but they
Right.
did set the tone, and that's what matters the most. As they went ahead and let us know that, hey, the biggest draw takeaway is there is no Commissioner Gordon, there is no Batman,
Nope.
which is insane, but it sets the tone. Um, what do you think about the uh Suicide Squad movie? I mean, game.
Game. That game gives me the vibe of Sunset Overdrive. The trailer did anyway. You know.
Why you
Um,
say that?
it's just the way they're just certain characters were just jumping around and shooting. That reminds me of the trailer for Sunset Overdrive. All that hopping around instead of just a regular dude with the gun. No, you hop around and shoot, and can flip around like you're, I don't know, like a bat out of hell or whatever, just doing all types of crazy locomotion, between these characters. And that's just the vibe I get. That same vibe that trailer for Sunset Overdrive gave me. I'm getting that same vibe. Um, I can't really call it for the game if it's appealing to me or not. It's just like I need to see more, because all we really saw was the cutscene, and the premise is cool, but these characters don't even look like they could ever even hope to kill Superman at all. Like, I don't even see that's like saying a roach would kill me. Like, how could that ever happen?
Well, that
That's
that
they
that's part of the game, right? That's
Right, but that's
it's
part of the
like,
game. But they seem to be portraying these the Suicide Squad as so low level compared to Superman, which they already are by default, but even more so, they really kind of make them look like they're like weak versus him. And so, yeah, this is where the whole story comes from. But it's because they're really trying to force that onto us to think that, hey, this is a real tough job they have. Hey, and it's a Suicide Squad for a reason. They're not expected to live.
yeah. So my thoughts is, first of all, this is also announced as a four-player co-op game. Just want to
Mm,
put that out there.
mm.
So, um, so I wanted to make sure that we put out there that this is also done by Rocksteady Studios, the same studios who put out the immaculate Batman Arkham Knight series.
Oh yes,
So,
that's key to mention. The pedigree is
so,
there.
So the thing is, we can expect the same type of quality here. They've been working on this game for years, and we still got 2 more years before it's dropping, right? The thing is, they putting their foot in the door to make sure, or putting their foot on this to make sure that this game comes out and be one of those masterpieces that we talk to years to come. And I have a lot of faith in them because they believe in this, right? The They believe in the Suicide Squad being able to take on a suicide mission like killing Superman or
Yep.
the Justice League in general and making this happen. And you play as all these characters. Now, I don't know if the four that they show, Boomerang, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and King Shark, is the only characters you get to play with, but definitely, um, definitely interesting that they chose those characters, and they said that they'll get upgrades. So that hopping around stuff you seen was basically upgrading their gear.
Yeah. But they
So
really did pick a good starting four. I gotta say,
so
definitely.
this
If
and
there's
this
more, these four are great.
yeah, and this game actually takes place directly after Arkham Knight. So it's going to be, I'm not sure how they're going to take that, and I don't want to discuss Arkham Knight's ending because people may not have played it, but the thing is, this is interesting how they deal with the Batman issue after Arkham Knight, right? And I'm interested to see how they play that, um and move that forward. So the game is still in early development. I won't say early, it's mid development. They still fleshing out it's probably the co-op and also the pandemic that's slowing down the game's development. They trying to get the co-op thing down so that people can drop in and drop out. So if you just want to hop in, you could, because you could play solo too. You could control all the characters at one time, by yourself, or you could play when people jump in and control those characters as well.
Yeah, like I was saying before, these newer consoles have the CPU horsepower to do some pretty good AI on the characters. I mean, AI is always going to be pretty dumb, but I've seen great examples of where AI could be done well, like in the original Halo and the subsequent sequels. And also, another good example of AI is Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Those soldiers, it was a squad of four that you were in, and the other three were able to mention landmarks and what they're seeing in the environment. And
Mm,
there's a lot of CPU horsepower in these consoles, so they should be able to make these characters pretty smart. And with all the time you're saying they've spent on this game, they've got the time to have been able to implement that. So hopefully they do. You're saying drop in, drop out co-op,
yeah.
lead to that. Would just lead to that. That's just how you got to do it.
So I want to transition into a couple things that I felt was kind of dear to my heart, and it was a huge announcement. I got super excited. I damn near fell out my chair, and that was the Milestone Media return. And it was a panel with the original creators and Jim Lee, and they were talking about how they're going to relaunch Milestone Media in the DC universe.
Okay, now this is something you've been talking about and hoping for a while, like long before fandom happened, or at least long before I knew that fandom was happening. You were
Right,
speaking on these subjects, that
right.
you're all hoping. So, expectations versus reality. Let me hear it.
So, my expectation is, judging by how they were talking, uh, they got a star panel here. So you got co-creator uh, uh, Danny Cohen, who's going to do the art, and then you got Reggie, who's going to do the writing, and then of course Jim Lee is going to put his hand on there and bless the comic line. And the comic is they're going to relaunch Static, Icon, and Static's going to have his standalone comic. They're going to relaunch Icon and Rocket together, and all these Milestone Media comics, the new ones, are going to relaunch in February 2021. What month is February
Well,
2021?
well, well. Black History Month. Perfect timing.
Perfect
Perfect
timing.
timing.
And up until then, they're gonna re-release the original Milestone Media Comics digitally starting in September, all the way up until the main release of the new series. So my expectation is, and we're just talking about comics. We'll talk about the other stuff coming down the pipe with this as well. But my expectation is, because the original creator or co-creator, because rest in peace, Dwayne McDuffie, um, is involved in the project by doing the artwork. Right, he's drawing, partly writing, but Reggie is also writing the movie. I mean the comics as well. So, what, do you know who I'm talking about? Uh,
Dwayne McDuffie, I knew of. These other guys, no, but from the context, like these are the guys in charge now.
right. Well, yeah, and you know who Jim Lee is, though, right?
Yeah, he
He's
started Image
basically
Comics. He left Marvel to start Image with a few others, and then but now he's over at DC. How long has he been there? Actually, I that part
he
I don't
is the
know.
boss. He
Oh,
is
he's the
now.
boss.
Yeah, he's the boss. He's been there since, and now he is the number one guy. That's why I said, if he's putting his hands on it directly to help produce these comics, that's a star panel. You know that they're trying to push this. No joke.
Definitely, because he was there in those early days helping out as well. So, he had a part to play in those early days as well. So he's for him to be back here now is definitely a good look. It shows the the attention that they're giving to this. This isn't some flash in the pan project.
Right. This is a movement. That's the way I look at it. It's a movement, because they're not just half stepping or seeing if something sticks. They're actually going all out. And to me, this is huge because, you know, black superheroes haven't really got their moment to shine until Black Panther, right? And Black Panther was kind of a movement because we were starving for that kind of, um, uh, I don't know how to explain it. We was looking for to see us on a big screen as stars as well. I would say black and brown people.
Yes, definitely, and that's starting to happen in all places. And the thing about it is, it's not. It doesn't feel forced or anything. Um,
Right, right,
there's there's a in, there's a real intent to do it right. Like we're saying with the involvement of Jim and Lee there. It's not just, oh, let's just do this because it might make some money and this is the time. With things going on the way they are. Let's just take advantage of that. To make some easy money. No, this is something that has been in the plans for a while, and the current political situation has little, if anything, to do with this.
right. So, just to give a backstory, Milestone Media has been in court dealing with some issues. They finished that up. Everything got wrapped up in October last year, and then we had a pandemic, so that slowed down everything of what the plans were. And if you don't know who Reggie Hudlin is, I'll give him backstory. He's the guy. His first movie was House Party. He also produced the Django Unchained, and he also um, directed Boomerang. So that's some of his work to give you an idea of the quality of writing he does.
And that's a very different, like each one of those are different types of films. You know,
But
it
it
shows that he
gets
can do different genres and things, and is prolific.
right, and it shows that he can show the the lens of black and brown people, right? How we view the world, not just what someone else thinks we view. Um, I also want to point out that that's not the only thing. The comics ain't the only thing. Um, Along with who was on the panel was Phil Lamar. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but he pretty much voices everybody.
Oh yeah, he's done Samurai Jack. He did that one character in Metal Gear. Solid 2 and 4. The Vamp. He's done various voice acting roles for a long time. In fact, he's more prolific in voice acting than actual acting, I would say.
Yes, he is a famous voice actor. He also did Static's voice in the original Static Shocks animation. Um, he blew the cover off the door, and there will be a live action Static movie that they are currently working on. They are currently working on a live action Static movie. I don't know if that weight has hit you yet, sick, but that
Oh
is
yeah,
heavy.
I didn't know that at all. I didn't know
And
that.
it's
That's
already
one thing
in
I didn't hear about.
production. It's
Uh,
already in production.
oh,
Yes.
oh, so they're filming right now. Was
I'm not saying they're
recording that right?
filming.
Oh,
I'm saying that they're in production. That means they already got the script written. They already got the okay to do it. They just gotta now they're gonna scout for people who gonna work the roles. They ready to get this going.
oh, cool. I didn't know they was that far in. Well, actually, I didn't even know it was a thing to even know it was that far in.
Yeah, Phil and Moore made a joke say, "Hey, they got technology now to make me look a lot younger, so I could play in a movie." Anybody? Anybody? That tickled me a
Womp
little
womp.
bit. But the other thing is definitely Reggie mentioned that the movie is coming. There's going to be brand new TV adaptations, live action and cartoon series of Milestone Media characters, especially for Static. So we will see Icon and Rocket probably in a TV series. And also they're going to do podcasts. So the thing is they're not just doing comics, they're trying to make a movement here and relaunch why we loved Milestone Media in the 90s because they broke barriers. They started something that
I expect
nobody would
like
ever.
yeah, cause Static Shock. I remember being on Kids WB during the weekends on Saturdays and such. I was already past the age where I would get up early to watch anything like that. But if I did, if I would just wake up, definitely this was the content I was watching. That Batman Beyond. Um, I feel like that's probably where they're going to continue on with this. You'll see this on Cartoon Network. You'll see this on streaming services. On the HBO Max, you'll see it on HBO Max. Um, this is good. This is good. They have multiple areas where they could release this content that they're making, and I expect that this is where we'll see them.
Not to mention, they also hinted they're creating brand new characters from the Milestone Media to bring into this era. And I think that's cool that they're going to reinvent themselves and bring back the classic heroes that we all love. And what I really like is co founder Dennis Cohen is going to be involved. So that means he's got the Bible of Milestone Media and he's going to apply it the way Dwayne McDuffie and he would together into this movement. So what's your final thoughts on this sick altogether as a whole?
Well, this is something that's been a long time coming. Like you spoke of earlier, there was a lot of legal issues that prevented all of this from happening prior, and now with those shackles, gone and now unrestrained, um, this is something that I've been waiting for. And even though I didn't know about it, like specifically, but characters like Static Shock, Icon, and more recently Black Lightning, which we'll also speak on in a little bit. They're getting their time now, like they should have from before, but at least now it's finally happening. Better late than never, I always say. And here here we are, about damn time.
So speaking of that, Jim Lee mentioned that he had got John Ridley, and if you don't know, he's a famous writer, got lots of awards. Um, I can't even announce the amount of accolades this man has. He has so many awards in writing; it's ridiculous. He is a black writer, and he is brought. DC picked him up because he's a big dog. He's like a big fish to pick up as a writer, and it looked like he may be on the panel to write for the new Batman, which is not Bruce Wayne, which is not on any Earth that we know of, and he's black. How do you feel about a black Batman?
Well, My opinion is, why does it need to be a black Batman when it could be just, another hero doing his own thing? The fact that he's black, like, I, I want representation, but not on a level of what they're just doing a black Batman. But it seems like that's not what this is. This isn't just, oh, now Bruce Wayne is a black guy, instead of, so, but that's not what's going on. This isn't Bruce Wayne. This is a different person, who, a different universe, a different situation entirely, where Batman exists.
Right, and we don't even know if he's like Bruce. We don't know if he's a billionaire. We don't know if he's poor. He could be like uh poor and he just scrapping for you know, I have no idea. We don't know because the story ain't written. We just know that the people brought on board and the idea that is being tossed.
Mm.
So, I'm not sure how to take it, but they're not going to put someone like, John Riley on this project for it to be trash.
Yeah, just attaching his name to it brings a lot of validation to the project as a whole by default. That just shows they're not fooling. This isn't, like I said before, this isn't some flash in the pan type thing that's just happening now. This is a push for the future. This isn't just some kind of one shot.
Right, and I want to be clear. Um, we know that minorities in the comic industry have not really have not had the same success as the others, right? But the thing is, what I'm getting at is if they're starting to change that narrative, let's not trash them on that. Let's just see how it comes out. If it's actually good, let's congratulate them. But if it's terrible, then criticize them. Let's not criticize them before it happens, because then it'll discourage the the quality of the project, right? We want to make sure, and one thing Jim Lee said is we don't want to just do things just to be doing it. We want it to be special every time we do it. And that is something that I agree with when it comes to his vision, right? We want crossovers. We want these universes. We want them to be special every time we do it. We do not just want to put stuff out there just to see what will stick. We want to make it memorable so we talk about it for years to come.
Exactly. You don't want it to be patronizing, like they did it to just say that they did it. That's not what we want. No one wants that.
So so you mentioned Black Lightning TV shows, and I know we haven't really spoken of TV shows. So what's going on with Black Lightning TV show? Sick, you there?
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been muted the whole time. I'm sorry. I will speak. At first I thought this was a film, actually, but this was an early pre-production. This is a TV show,
Yeah, it's actually in its fourth season coming up.
right? Oh, okay. So this is the fourth season of the TV. I thought this was a film. Oh,
No,
all right.
no, no. So yeah, I am a big fan of Black Lightning. It's a very good written show. They typically keep the episodes short. I know last season it was pretty long, but the usually when they do short seasons, the writing quality is a lot better. Um, and they have a really good cast. Um, so one thing that people been talking about is gender swapping and race swapping and shows or movies or animated films or whatnot. And I want to touch on that because I feel like Black Lightning did do this, but the thing is, if to me, if it's a B-list character and they gender swap, race swap, what have you, and you don't, and most and the casual community don't know who this person is, it's not affecting anything
Right.
because that person could actually make that character into their own and then change the way we view that character, because the reason why you don't know about it is because the character probably was not good character to begin with. It don't have to stick to the original material if the original material wasn't good. I'll give you an example. Samuel Jackson created the Nick Fury, like a black Nick Fury in the Ultimate Universe in the comics. based off him. But he's
Yeah,
awesome. He
yeah. And
made
if
that
you
character
notice,
into himself.
and if you notice, the artwork looks. Samuel L. Jackson is who they go for when they're trying to draw. If you're trying to draw that version of Nick Fury, basically you draw Samuel L. Jackson with an eye patch, and there you go.
So my thing is, you can. I understand the concern of doing gender swaps, but I don't and race swaps. Like I understand that. It seemed like I know Sick. You probably haven't seen the show, but Black Lightning did a couple of gender swaps and race swaps
I didn't know
on the
about that,
show.
but I did see the premiere. I did watch the premiere. I didn't know that they ever did any of that, and that too doesn't concern me either. It doesn't matter. Like there's a way to do it. Like Miles Morales, the new, they're not saying, "Oh, Spider Man. This Spider Man is Peter Parker. This is Miles Morales. He's a totally different person, different motivations, different everything." But they show you why he's now Spider-Man, you know? He's they show you how he earns that title. And in Black Lightning, for them to gender swap whatever characters or race swap whatever characters, like you say, it's probably just, some smaller site where the race, number one, probably didn't even matter to the character, or to the goings on involving that character. So why should it matter? But even if it did, then at that point, well, now you're switching. You're usually reinventing the character wholesale anyway. So that too isn't, you know wrong, in my opinion. A different point of view, a different look, different concept, different idea, but having the same core elements that most matter to the character.
Well, and also if they make the character better from the source material. I mean, some of it they might not. It's hit and miss sometimes, and sometimes it's not. I mean, um, there's a character that is goes by the name of Brandon on the show, but he is um, I forget the hero name from the Outsiders, but basically he controls Earth, or kind of like his quote unquote sister, who is in the or one of the bad guys from Teen Titans. He Geoforce. That's his name. Geoforce is in the show, but he's now black, and he's also not from the the other country. I forget the country's name. So he now I'm not sure. Like Geoforce is not a big character, in my opinion. I don't think he's that big. I don't even know if you know who Geos.
I've never even heard of him. No.
Okay, so he is used. He was in Young Justice season 3, and they did portray him similar to how his story is. Him and his sister,
What? Oh! You mean the
Tara.
prince or whatever?
Yeah, so
Okay,
that's
yeah.
Geoforce and his sister Tara. Right. So in the Black Lightning show, he's black. It doesn't come from that country. We haven't seen his sister. We just know his family is dead, and they changed everything. Now again, Geoforce to me is not that interesting to care to keep him, because basically Black Lightning create the outsiders on the show, basically, and which is loosely based off the comics. And my mind is, I think reinventing these characters, especially since the show is typically a different continuity than what you're used to from the comics. Let's just be real. Arrow was more like Batman, and there isn't. Even though they mentioned Bruce Wayne, they never showed Batman on the TV show,
Right. His action was more of a Batman than what Arrow was
except
on the
for
comics.
on Batwoman, and they don't even show. And that's another. I don't want to get into that, but the thing is, gender swapping and race swapping, I think, is okay as long as it's a B character. Like I'm not saying that I'm okay with this is Superman and he has to be black. Right. This is Clark Kent and he has to be back, and it's in the same continuity. I don't agree with that because that's changing a big character too dramatically. Now, if it's a new character, like we spoke of, a black Batman who's completely new, and he's Batman, but he's not Bruce, and he's a whole different character. That's something we can accept, and except for that continuity, right? That's totally new. We don't have to change dramatically to big characters. We could create brand new characters and keep that moving. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, the main characters usually, it's one thing or another, but these side characters usually just exist to, to forward the plot in one way or another, or to cause a fork in where the plot would normally go, because of the influence of this character. So the fact that they're black, white, male, female, whatever, that's just window dressing. That's just the paint on the wall, not the actual wall itself. Not the important part of it, unless they decide to make that a part of the character. And even then, that can swap out, for other aspects. You want to change that character up. So when you first see the character, for fans who know what the character is supposed to be, you have all these expectations. But now, no, the character acts completely different, or acts different at a key moment when you thought you knew what this character would do. And then, nope, they do something else because it's not who you thought you knew. This is a different interpretation. So it keeps you, surprised and entertained by new elements.
Right. And is there? I would just say before I want to say close out the show. Is there any other TV shows or anything you like to touch on there, Sick? Anything else that stood out in the show that you think
Uh,
deserves
Nothing else in
highlight?
the show that I would say, but I wish I had heard more about Young Justice, because I know that's supposed to come back again. Like, they didn't just finish with the season that they had; that there's going to be more, and they had nothing to share there. They did show the newest DC animated direct to video film, which came out pretty quickly this time. Superman Man of Tomorrow is now out. This is pretty quick. I don't think they've really had, you know, uh, uh, another one come out so soon after the previous in a while. So that was already at the was at the event, but the title was already released at that point. I think the same day. So if you want to check that out, that's already out.
Yeah, I have not checked that out yet, and I will get to that. That's going to be on my to do list. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's the only other thing I could say. That and Young Justice, I know that's supposed to come back. I didn't
So
really hear anything about that.
so I want to mention that this is part one of two parts of DC Fandom. They're going to hold another one, so it might be in that one. And it's going to be held next month.
Right.
So they might mention it then. And in the schedule, it says Uverse, I think, or Watchverse. I think that is what's going to be held on the next event, since
So
they split
maybe
it into.
yeah, yeah, that sounds more like where they would discuss stuff like that. So hopefully they do. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I think this event was for their bangers, their big announcements and showings to get people watching. I think that's what this was about.
All right, cool, cool. Well,
Well, I want to thank y'all for joining us. Sick, where can they find you at?
you can find me Six Slayer on Twitter and everywhere great games are played. And every Friday 9:30 Eastern, you can find me on the GRG podcast with yourself, K Mega, One Way Dragons TV, and Live Wires Gaming, and whoever else happens to be there at the time. And from time to time, you'll find me on 100 uh, channel, 100 Intro Meet the Gaming, and from time to time, I'll hop in there on his channel when he's live streaming, discussing gaming topics. So you can check me out there.
And if you guys are interested, I do have the channels, associated channels linked in my on my channel as well. So you can just click on there and you find us there. And you can also find me at GRG every Friday at 9:30 Eastern on GRG with Sick. Find me at PKX Live on Twitter and here on my channel where I try to keep you electrified and entertained. That's all for us, guys. See you next time.
Later.